Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Eridania here once again with a few of my coworkers from Dignity of Children hosting another Uplift session. Today, like always, we have another wonderful guest, this time Kris Ferraro. Kris is a former punk rock radio DJ and performance artist who left a career in the social services area to become an international energy coach, an author, a speaker, and ordained minister. Kris will be speaking to us on emotional alchemy. By the end of her talk, we hope that everyone, myself included, walks away understanding what that is, understanding its principles, and having experienced a few practices simple enough that we can teach it to others and help them experience internal balance. Again, all of the tools that we share with you, all the resources, all the speakers that we expose you to is with the intention of empowering you, of building a stronger community so that you can show up more powerfully in your workplace, in your personal lives, and in the world as a whole. Without further ado, here is Kris Ferraro with us.
Hi, thank you all for being here and for joining me. I'm an evangelical for energy healing and energy work, and so any chance that I get to get together with people and share what I know, please know comes from a deep place within me of wanting to alleviate as much suffering in the world as possible. And so you're probably wondering why that is. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my mental health history. So I'm what you would call a highly sensitive person. So highly sensitive people are exactly that, where we feel things very, very, very deeply. We're sensitive to sounds and noises and sometimes foods and chemicals. And so I was a highly sensitive child born into a highly insensitive environment. So I was the way younger child of four, born late in life to my parents, and a lot of chaos in my household. And so I ended up developing some pretty serious mental health issues, including anxiety. So I was always in a state of reactivity and fear. I get paralyzed a lot with fear. It was very, very hard to talk to other people. And then when I was 8, I went through some kind of standardized testing, and my parents moved me out of the school that I was in, that I actually was doing well at, and moved me into an experimental program for child geniuses. However, I was not a genius. So moving into a school that was for these geniuses who were being groomed for Ivy League schools, and did not come from working class backgrounds. And moving from what should have been a 4th grade level of education to in 4th grade doing 5th, 6th, 7th, and sometimes 8th grade level work, I could not keep up. I had several undiagnosed learning disabilities. I had attention deficit disorder, so I had a focusing problem. My mind was constantly spinning around. So not really conducive to studying. And I also had an auditory processing disorder. So I would hear sounds that go into my ears, but the part of my brain that interpreted what those sounds meant was always on a few second delay. So throughout childhood, I was always saying, what? So I was always behind in understanding what was being said to me. So this ended up causing a severe anxiety condition. I went through nights where I did not sleep at all because I could not keep up with the work that was in the class. And this thing, the only thing that I'd ever really been good at, which was, English and art in school, I was no longer getting good grades. And so this really affected my self-esteem greatly. So this led to a lot of self-esteem challenges and a lot of mental health challenges, clinical depression in high school. By the time I was in my late 20s, I was on several psychiatric medications. And what I didn't know is that my energy was extremely imbalanced. And I also did not know what to do with all of these intense feelings that I had. And so it set me on a course. I was in traditional therapy. I was also doing a lot of spiritual practices outside of that. And within that, I found something in my late 20s called emotional freedom techniques, which otherwise goes by the initials EFT. If you've ever heard of something called tapping, that's what that was. And so I found this practice where I could calm down the intensity of the huge explosive emotions that I was feeling all of the time. And it led me to a path in which I could learn to balance my energy with several different practices and modalities. And what happened was I became a really happy, healthy person, emotionally healthy, physically healthy, able to connect with people more deeply than I ever had before, no longer having a crippling social anxiety that had been with me for most of my life. Suddenly I was able to have conversations with people, and I was no longer having panic attacks. And so my whole life really turned around. I got into learning this stuff strictly for helping myself. And then it just led to naturally me starting to work with other people. And I've had a private practice for 12 years, and I've been fully self-employed for 6, doing this work, teaching it to others, teaching other energy healers. Many of the people that are in my practice are people in mental health, therapists, psychologists. I even have a doctor in my practice now. So this stuff may seem out of the box, but what I can tell you is it has a profound effect on us and how we feel about ourselves, how we interact with other people, and how we can operate in the world. And so it's been a great relief and a great joy that every morning I get to get up and do what I love more than anything, and spread the gospel of emotional well-being and emotional alchemy. And so out of all of these practices that I've been doing, and the studying that I've been doing, and the teaching that I've been doing, I came to the conclusion that mental health is a bit of a misnomer. It really is emotional wellness and emotional well-being. Mental health does have something to do with our thoughts, but it has so much more to do with what our feelings are. And so I realized that here we are, we're born, we grow up in families, and hopefully we get the basics. We're taught basic personal hygiene, brushing our teeth, taking showers. Um, uh, Maybe we learn some basic life skills like learning how to write a check. Do people do that anymore? Probably not. But we learn these practices for how to be in the world. And what's sad though is that we're never actually told what to do with our emotions. We're not told what to do with our feeling bodies. And they are such a huge aspect of us. Every single thing that you want to have in your life is because of how you think that will make you feel. So if you've got a physical condition and that physical condition is painful, you want relief, right? You want to feel good. You want to feel good in your body. If you are having lack in your finances, well, you want to have finances coming in so you don't have the stress that comes with not having enough, right? So you have the ease of being able to pay bills on time. So really everything that we do is feeling based. They've done study after study in elections, and people vote for the candidate of their choice based on emotions, not based on logic. Okay. So it's important that we learn how to process our emotional stuff. And there's a good reason why nobody ever taught us how to do that, because we are living in a time where we have the luxury of being able to do this. Our grandparents likely did not have the time and energy to deal with their emotional stuff, okay? They were busy working and surviving. Okay. And so nobody taught them, and they didn't teach our parents, and our parents didn't teach us. So this has come out of my work with now thousands of people. And so out of that, I realized that there's all these misnomers about what emotions are, about how they work, about how they affect our lives and well-being. And I'm grateful that we're living in a time where mental health is being spoken about with more compassion, probably than it ever has been before. That's really, really imperative that we remove the stigma. It's interesting, people like to do, true confessions with me wherever they go. So people will just say, oh, I want you to know I've got a anxiety problem, or I have this condition, or I'm taking medication. And I say, and when I don't act with any kind of surprise, they say, oh, well, you don't seem like you're surprised by that. And I said, no, because we all have mental health problems. There's nobody amongst us, right, who doesn't have some aspect of that. And the people that look like they really don't have it definitely do. They just hide it really well. A lot of us are wearing masks as we operate in the world. Social media has encouraged us to wear these facades of having the perfect life. But when you look behind the curtains, everybody's got insecurities. Everybody's got fears. We are going into now, pretty soon, within a week or so, right, a year of COVID. So here we are dealing with this condition, this pandemic that has never been experienced ever. And everyone is enduring it at the same time. Okay. And so we're talking more and more about mental health crises. And what I'd like to share with you is that our nervous systems and our bodies weren't designed to be living in constant uncertainty. 100 years ago, your life pretty much looked the same every single day. And you didn't get a whole lot of news about things that were happening all over the world. Now we are bombarded with stimuli. We're bombarded with news. We're bombarded with stories. And our ancient primal nervous system cells are not designed to endure all that. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the myths about emotions. We're going to talk about emotional alchemy and some of the pillars of it, so you can kind of get an idea, even in this short time, of looking at your own feelings in a different way that's not disempowering for you. So emotional alchemy is about getting out of your head and getting into your feelings, okay? We think our emotions are in our mind. Our stories about our emotions are in our mind. The emotional energy itself is within our energy field, and that comprises all of us, including our body. We carry unprocessed emotions in our physical tissues, okay? And they can show up in a lot of different ways and cause problems for us when they're not taken care of. So emotional alchemy is about processing that emotional energy so that we're not carrying around the stuck energy. The truth is that emotions can usually pass very quickly. So I know that some of you work with children, probably many of you are parents, have been around children. You may have seen a baby get mad, and the baby will get red-faced, ball up their fists, screech at the top of their lungs. They do not care that you're online at Whole Foods. They are going to be in their experience, okay? And then a minute later, that same baby will be laughing a full belly laugh. And they just moved through that emotion. They expressed it, they got it out, and then they moved back into balance, okay? And we can do that as well, except we don't, because it's human nature to avoid pain. It's human nature to avoid how we feel. And so we avoid, we stuff, we go out and get drinks, lots of alcohol going on during this past year. I want to see figures about what the sales are. I bet you alcohol sales have like doubled easily. Okay. I have neighbors. I watch the deliveries from the liquor store. I know what people are doing to sedate themselves. And there's no judgment in that. I want you to hear that. We all are seeking relief. It's imperative that we feel relief. And if we don't have tools to provide relief, we're going to reach for those things. We're going to numb out and be on Netflix for 8 hours on a Saturday, and because we can't move because we're so exhausted from all of the feelings, okay? And And so what I'm offering here is just a different way of approaching your emotional body that I think can be helpful. And so a couple of things that I want to talk about our dangerous myths about emotions. And one of them I just touched on. It's that feelings are in your head. Feelings are not in your head. The feelings are in your entire beingness. Okay. If you've ever had a heartache, you know you feel it right here in your chest. If someone's ever said something that embarrassed you, you probably had the sensation of feeling like you got kicked in the stomach. Okay. When we have intense emotions, we know they're not in our head. We know that they're in the body, that's in our energy field. Okay. Another myth is that painful emotions will go away in time. Just had to have a slightly uncomfortable conversation with a very close family member about this very topic just a couple of days ago. This family member was bringing up something that happened within the family that had a profound effect on me and someone else. And this family member was saying, well, that was all those years ago, and that really doesn't matter. And I had to say, time does not heal all wounds. They get buried, they get suppressed, but they do not go away. There's an excellent book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. The title alone is profound. That which is suppressed instead of healthfully expressed, okay, does not stay gone, okay? Comes out in weird moments, comes out in explosive things. You get triggered and you find yourself saying or doing something. You thought, God, why did I react that way? It's not just what's happening now, it's all that stuff in the past that hasn't been resolved. So know that time doesn't eliminate anything. We know for a fact it definitely doesn't eliminate trauma, okay? And many of us, I think most people in the world are dealing with unprocessed and unresolved trauma. The problem is what we think about trauma. So we think that trauma is the big things, being held up at gunpoint, having experienced some type of violation or violence. And those are indeed traumas. But honestly, the definition of what a trauma is how your body responds to any experience. And so some people could have a day at work and leave that day and they're fine. Another person could leave the office that day and feel like they've had a traumatic experience because their nervous system, their body has responded as if they did have one. So trauma, again, is one of those things that we're talking about in a way that we've never spoken about before. And so these are things, the things that we'll be doing together are that are going to help to calm down that reactivity and bring you back to yourself. So I'm going to talk about some of the pillars, the power pillars of emotional alchemy. So power pillar number one, there are no bad feelings. Okay. There's ones we like, happiness, joy, fun. And there's ones we don't like so much, grief, sadness, depression, anger. Okay. Obviously, we enjoy the ones that feel good and don't enjoy the ones that don't feel good. But there really are no bad emotions. There is one spectrum of emotions. And this is going to sound ironic or counterintuitive, but if you want to have more joy and happiness in your life, you need to process the painful emotions. You can't suppress one end of the spectrum and experience only the other end of the spectrum. Okay. So stop judging your feelings as bad. Okay. It's very easy for us to go into shaming and blaming ourselves for the feelings that we're having. I shouldn't be feeling that way. That's wrong. I don't know why I'm doing this. And as soon as we do that, we are starting to suppress the emotional energy and we end up keeping that locked in our bodies rather than like the baby getting it out. Okay. So please know there are no bad feelings. They really are just information. You know, the painful emotions are telling you something. Oh, this feels like a loss to me. Oh, what happened in that meeting was really, really embarrassing. I feel really embarrassed by what happened in that. It's information about how you're responding to something that you've experienced. And if you can look at it that way and stop judging it, it'll be gentler on you. So, power pillar of emotional alchemy number 2. Feelings we don't like move us in the direction of growth. Okay. We want to avoid the bad feelings. We don't like them. Okay. We try to be very positive. Maybe you are a part of a philosophy that's about positive thinking and always, looking for the good. It's important to have positive thinking. It's important to look for the good, but it's not going to have the effect in your life if that you want if at the same time you're suppressing and repressing some painful feelings. Sometimes the most uncomfortable feelings are the ones that move us in the direction of growth. There have been times in my life where I've gotten really angry and really fed up about something. And in that anger, in that frustration, I've said enough is enough. And I made changes in my life and made a lot of really positive and healthy changes in my life. Some of our most uncomfortable emotions actually come with gifts. And I know that that may be surprising for you all to hear. Right now, we've got a lot of grief going on. And one of the things I specialize in besides anxiety is grief. And it's because in my own life, unprocessed grief really got in my way in a variety of ways. And there's times I'm working with people and they're stuck. They're stuck in one area of their life. And as we do energy work around it, what is revealed is unprocessed grief. Okay. So even if you don't know and you haven't lost anyone over this past year, we all have lost something. So we may have lost a business that we used to go to and really liked. For me, I've experienced the loss of travel. Prior to COVID, I was traveling between 9 and 11 times a year, most of it business related, and I loved every single second of it. And that feels like a big loss for me. There's the loss of coming together in person, concerts, events where we're with other people. So loss is the name of the game here, okay? But when we move through our grief and we really face it and we process it, there's some real gifts that have come out of it. And one of them is that life just becomes very poignant and meaningful. We don't take anything for granted when we're going through grief. You may be, sort of in a daze and walking into the supermarket, and the person who's leaving passes you their cart. And that little small dose of kindness from a stranger just makes your heart open. It feels poignant and special. Those moments are not lost on you. So no, as you process these painful emotions, there's gifts that come on the other side of it. I'd like to actually share an old yoga expression. You can learn more in 10 days of agony than 10 years of contentment. I used to not like this quote very much. I felt very challenged by it. However, I have found it to be very true, right? And the expression isn't 10 years of happiness, it's 10 years of contentment, right? So contentment is sort of this sort of base level. The agony does move us forward. So when we learn to process our painful emotions, we stop being afraid of being in them, and we know now that there's gifts that come with them. Okay, so the next power pillar of emotional alchemy, number 3, is what we resist persists. Allowance allows movement. So that which we resist persists in our life. It's an old cliche, and it's a cliche because it's 100% true. When we fight against the reality of where we are at any point in our life or how we feel about something, it keeps that experience locked in our consciousness and our energy field. When we can allow ourselves to simply just be where we are, it's amazing how quickly the movement can go forward. So think of that example of the baby, right? The baby is just a baby. The baby's like, I don't care, we're in Whole Foods. Baby has no idea what's going on as far as that goes, right? But by the time kids are toddler age, they start to feel shame when their painful emotions come up. And they may be shamed by other people who tell them you're not supposed to cry, or what are you crying about? And we shut down the mechanism that's built into us to help release. Tears are a release method. They're a great release method. We now know that when we cry, it releases feeling good hormones in the brain, like dopamine. So it actually helps to reset the balance. So, as much as possible, just allow yourself to be where you are without apology. Power pillar number 4. Fear of our pain is always worse than the pain itself. Now, I know that that may be shocking, but I am telling you it is true. Okay? We tell ourselves, I can't go there. I just can't go there. I can't handle it. I'm going to fall apart. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to end up being institutionalized. No one's going to want to speak to me. I'm going to lose my spouse, and my kids are going to stop speaking to me. If I go into those feelings, everything is going to end. I'm going to lose my job. These are the things that we tell ourselves, right? In the fear of our pain. And yet, moving through the pain itself, that when it's unresisted, there can be even exhilaration in it because the energy is moving and it's not being blocked. So when you find yourself telling yourself, I can't go there, nope, not me. Okay, I want you to remember this. Okay, be as brave as you can and move into that pain, and you'll get out on the other side and you'll be like, God, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I thought it was going to be much worse than that. Power pillar number 5, feelings allowed, process quickly. So that kind of ties into the resist, persist. If you allow yourself to simply be where you're at, you can move through it quickly, and you can find practices so that your emotions are not harmful to other people and to yourself. Okay, so know that. Power pillar number 6. Oh, this is a good one. Emotions are not logical. They're not logical. Okay, you have an emotional response. Your left brain chimes in and goes, well, you really shouldn't be feeling that right now because he really didn't mean that. And you know that he's going through a divorce. And why are you even contemplating that? And, and we immediately go into trying to talk ourselves out of how we feel. I can't even tell you the number of times in my practice somebody said, doesn't even make sense. I don't even know why I feel that way. It's just not even logical. Yeah, because they're not logical. Okay. So if you recognize that emotions are not logical, then you won't try talking yourself out of them, which really usually doesn't work very well, particularly if you've got a big stress response going on in the body. It's biological. So you could talk about it till the cows come home. It's not going to make a difference. And this really comes up with children, okay? This is a really important point that we need to share with our children. And please know that all children are our children. They really are. It's imperative that they know this because I so often see teachers, parents, and caregivers telling a child, but it doesn't even make any sense. But we're going to go next week and that'll be a better time. And why are you crying that we're not going today? And trying to kind of talk sense into them about their emotional responses. Some of you may have found doesn't work too well. Okay. And so if you can remember that emotions are not logical, you'll be less likely to judge children when they're having an emotional response because they too are in a state that's not logical. They're not even in that section of the brain where logic is, okay? And power pillar number 7, emotions aren't in the head, but in the entire body, which we talked about, okay? They're within our entire system. So what I would like to do is I'd like to lead you all through a few practices and talk about what their benefits, and we can just all do them together, okay? So this first one is called the Wayne Cook posture. And it's named after a guy named Wayne Cook. And Wayne Cook was a very interesting guy. He had a child who had a severe stuttering problem. And he recognized that when his child had their arms and legs crossed, they didn't stutter. So he created this exercise to bring balance to the energy of the body. What this does is it really helps to balance several energy systems all at the same time. And it's a very much a feeling of coming back to ourselves. Okay. So we're going to start with the easiest part first. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to crisscross our ankles with the left ankle on top of the right ankle. And your legs should be relaxed, just as they would be if your ankles were crossed while you're watching TV or reading a book. Okay. And then we're going to do the arm parts. I want you to do this with me one step at a time because you're going to feel like a giant pretzel. Okay. So we're going to put our arms out. You can see they're sort of about shoulder height. Okay. I'm going to twist my arms so that the backs of the hands come together and are touching one another. And I'm going to give everybody a second to do that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take the left hand. Okay. We're going to cross up over the right hand and bring the palms together. And we're going to intertwine the fingers. Okay, everybody with me? I hope so. If not, say something in the chat. And then we're going to kind of turn it inside out like a pretzel. Okay. So once those arms are laying on the chest, relax your shoulders, relax your arms, let your chest do the heavy lifting here. And we're all going to close our eyes and we're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And you're hearing me yawn. That happens when we balance our energy sometimes. If you have a yawn coming up, that's a good thing. Okay, good. Now we're going to reverse it. So let's start the ankles first. That's the easy part, okay? Going to take the right ankle, put it on top of the left ankle. Again, legs are relaxed, okay? We're going to kind of uncurl our arms. We're going to go back out to our mummy height, okay? We're going to bring the backs of the hands together. We're going to take the right hand this time, cross up over the left, bring the palms together, intertwine the fingers, and we're going to bring that palm down, this fist down, and turn it inside out, resting it on the chest. Okay, again, relax your shoulders, let them come down, let your arms relax, close the eyes, nice deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Yawn's coming up because I'm balancing my energy. Okay, good job, everybody. So now we're going to lock this in. So what we're going to do is we're going to undo everything. Okay, so your feet go flat on the ground, not crossed. Okay, if your wrists feel a little wonky, you can shake them out. You know, they're not usually in that position. Okay, and then you're going to take the fingertips of the left and right hand. You're going to kind of bring them together, match them up, pinky to pinky, thumb to thumb, the fingers in between. So it's like you're making a triangle. And you're going to bring the hands up and you're going to place those thumbs that are pressed together right in between the eyebrows. And we're going to press the thumbs in between the eyebrows, around the forehead, and just pull up ever so slightly. We're going to sit up straight while we're doing this. Close the eyes, nice deep breath in. Blow it out. Okay, nice gentle shake out. Nice gentle shake out, everybody. Okay. So the next one we're going to do is called heart math breathing. Very, very easy. I want you to imagine that you're breathing in and out through the center of the chest. So we're just going to gently close our eyes, okay? And just imagine like you've got a mouth there. You're going to breathe in and out through that center of the chest. And what we're going to be doing is activating the heart, which we now know is another brain. And this can be very, very soothing when you're feeling really rattled or raw. Okay, nice work, everybody. That's as simple as it gets, but it's really, really helpful. Now we're going to do the calming hug, okay? So you're going to take one hand. Let's start with the right hand, okay? And you're going to place that hand on the opposite side underneath the armpit. It's just going to lay there, okay? And then you're going to take your left arm and you're going to kind of line the forearm up on top, okay? And you're going to hold around the bottom of the bicep area just above the elbow. And it just looks like you got your arms folded, right? Just slightly different than what we do when we fold our arms, okay? And let's breathe in and blow out. Breathe in and blow out. Breathe in and blow out. Breathe in. Good. Now what we're going to do is reverse it. Okay, so the left arm's on top. We're going to take that guy and put it underneath. So it's just for ladies right underneath the breast. You're going to have it right there on the side, your hand. Line up the forearm on top, grip above the elbow. Hold this, breathing in and blowing out. And while you're breathing in and blowing out, see if you can feel the calming effect that this is having. What this does is it calms down our fight or flight response and it strengthens our energy for resiliency, for dealing with anxiety. Okay, very nice. Nice work, everybody. Okay, we're going to do another exercise. Okay, so you're going to take a flat hand, place it on the side of your face. Now make sure you're covering your temple. Very important. If you have glasses, you may have to remove them. Okay. And then what you're going to do is the opposite hand, we're going to switch it so it doesn't matter which side you started on. Thumb, index, and middle finger, pinch them together like you're picking up a little bead, okay? And we have this little hollow part here above our collarbone. You're going to take those three pinched fingers, gently place them in that hollow section, and we're going to breathe in and blow out. Nice work, everyone. Now we're going to reverse it. So the hand that was at the throat, Goes up against the side of the face. Make sure you cover that temple. Thumb, middle, and index finger pinched together. Place them in that little hollow, gently in that hollow spot, and breathe in and blow out. Nice. Just let the hands rest. You should be feeling a lot calmer than when we started, which was just a couple of minutes ago. We haven't been doing this for very long. And the last exercise is called the shush technique. And this is from my book, Energy Healing. And this one's great because you can do it in a meeting. No one's going to know that you got any kind of issues going on. So you're going to take an index finger. And you know, when you normally are shushing someone, you're like, shh, okay? Instead of taking it sideways, you're going to face the finger and you're going to line it up in that little divot that's under the nose. And you're going to press it in from there. Okay, so the whole finger just presses in from here straight down. And you can take your thumb on one side and curl your fingers around so it's like you're thinking about something really deeply. And just consciously breathe while you're doing it. And just keep holding it. What this exercise does is it moves us from being in the sympathetic nervous system, okay, which involves fight or flight or freeze, and back into parasympathetic, which is rest and digest mode. This little shush exercise is great to do before you eat because it brings calming to the nervous system so you can better digest your food. So all of the instructions for how to do this are in the handout that I submitted to Iridanya. She's going to get that to you. I want to take time to answer the questions and look at the comments. So if you have a question, please feel free to put it into the box. So we had a couple of questions earlier. So the first one is, how can you avoid energy drains when you work with large groups of people every day? Great question. If you are a highly sensitive person, if you're someone who's empathic, being around large groups of people can be extremely draining. Some people feed on that type of energy, okay? So it's not draining for everyone. But if this is you, there's an important thing that you need to know. We have an energy field around us. It's about an arm length out in all directions, okay? Longtime spiritual teachers would call this the aura. We now know that this energy field can be photographed and recorded. So all of these things that mystics have taught us for a bunch of years are real, okay? Well, now we know. If this field is very porous, okay, like a sponge, you'll suck up a lot of stuff from a lot of other people. And you don't have to be around them all day. You could be on the subway and suck up a bunch of stuff. There's stuff floating, a lot of energy floating around in the subway that you can suck up, okay? So you need to learn a process called shielding, okay? And so an easy shielding exercise is I want you to imagine that there's a zipper that starts at your pubic bone and it goes all the way up the front line of the body to where your lips are, okay? So we're gonna take two hands, we're gonna place them on our pubic bone, and I want you to imagine you've got like a jacket on, like with a zipper, okay? And as we pull those fingers up the straight line of the body, imagine you're zipping your field closed. Okay, we're gonna get to the lips. I want you to imagine to zip your lips like your mama maybe told you, okay? And then you're gonna put a little, imagine you're putting a little lock on there, like those ones you put on suitcases. Turn the key and toss it. Okay, so let's do that together again. On the pubic bone, drag it up. Okay, it's a quick little thing that you can do. It's very good to cleanse your energy field too before that you do that. Next question, what are your best practices for keeping your energy up while being indoors for more than 12 hours at a time? Okay. So I know that probably all of us are in the tri-state area. We have winter going on. Please still open your darn windows, people. Okay. It's the first thing I do in the morning. I just open up a couple of windows, get a little bit of fresh air. I kind of fan it around to circulate, and then I close them back up again. It's important that we get fresh air. Surrounding yourself with plants. Particularly peace lilies are excellent because they actually soak up negative energy, and they're really cheap, and they last for a really long time. So surrounding yourself with things, green things from the outside, like plants, can be really, really, really great. Staying hydrated. For your energy to flow, hydration is key. Sometimes plain water is just not enough. And if you're starting your day with coffee, you're starting yourself as you're starting your day being dehydrated by that. Okay. Adding a little bit of lemon juice, adding a little bit of sea salt to your water gives you some minerals that will actually help you to stay hydrated. So that can be really, really helpful. And a lot of the practices that I shared with you today, doing those on breaks, will be very, very helpful for bringing you back to yourself. So those are some quick things that you can do. I don't think that there's any, does anyone else want to ask any other questions?
Thank you so much, Kris. So yes, we're opening it up for those that are here live on Zoom with us. Feel free to share your questions, comments on the chat. I'm also going to be sharing an attendance. Oh, I think I was muted. Did I just mute myself?
Just for a little small portion of it, yeah.
Okay, I am sharing an attendance link. I will be so grateful if everyone can just fill it out and give us some feedback, because you will receive an evaluation afterwards. Your feedback is very important to us to continue bringing you amazing guests who will provide you with information to empower you. And we just really want to expose you to different resources, and really hope that you take advantage of all that Kris has put together in the handout that I will be sending out in the resource email. I personally would like Kris to speak a little bit about her current book, which will definitely benefit the youth that some of our current participants work with on a daily basis, even if it's through Zoom now because of the current times.
Well, we know that our kids are in crisis, okay? And when I was asked to write this book, I wrote it for my inner teen. I wrote it for the teenager in me who was struggling, who was clinically depressed, who couldn't speak. It was, I went from that to speaking on stage now in front of hundreds of people. So you can't get more of a radical transformation than what's happened in my own life. And so I thought, well, if I was a teen, because it's called the Start Here Guide for Beginners, okay? So I thought, if I was a teen on up, how would I start learning to approach what energy is and learn some practices that could be beneficial for me? Earlier in the call, I mentioned EFT and how profound that was for me. This is an excellent primer for learning how to use EFT effectively and easily. And also in your handout, there is a link to a free download for tapping. So that's a link that's in the handout that you can follow. So this is something that I want to get into the hands of as many teens as possible, because they're struggling, y'all. I know they are, because I'm getting referrals for them and younger, okay? And they do not know what to do with all the feelings that they have. They don't know what to do with all of the emotions that they're feeling. Many of them, it seems like we have more highly sensitive people now than we did before. And that's because I think those of us that have big hearts and great compassion are here to save the world. So I think that this younger generation is clearly like that. They're very socially minded. They're very, very compassionate about feelings towards others, but they have to learn how to manage all of that. Okay. So there's many practices in the book. The shush technique is the only one that I shared from the book. There's a lot of other things in there, but I talk about the nervous system in a way that just makes it easy, right? And user friendly, and just talk about how we're all made out of energy. There really is no disconnection. Every single one of us is made out of one energy. It's E = mc squared. It's actually science. If we had a microscope and we could look down to our molecules, we'd find the same spaciousness in me, in Iridania, in Sonia, in everyone that's here, in the chairs that we're sitting on, and the floors beneath our feet. So please know that there's a lot of really wonderful resources out there that are very cutting edge, that haven't even been out that for that long. The conversation that we're having now about trauma wasn't even happening 10 years ago. This is cutting edge stuff. And so please know that in minutes, you can calm your field, come back to yourself, reduce the fight or flight response, reduce inflammation in the body that comes from stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And when we can release those stress hormones and come back into balance, we make better decisions. We take better care of ourselves. It's easier to make better choices. So know that this is, I have many teens who've read this book and have really benefited from it. So if you know any young people in your life that you think could use this, I would love it if you shared it with them.
And also, some of our participants who work for after-school organizations can connect with you through your website and actually have you, have a workshop based on your book for the staff or the youth themselves, correct?
100%. Yes, absolutely. I spent 15 years as a counselor in a social service agency. So I come from a traditional counseling background, and it's called Programs for Parents. It's in Essex County, New Jersey. It is a large child care resource and referral place. My passion has always been for helping children because of the childhood that I went through and how I want to help others to not have to go through that. So yes, I would be happy to meet with other schools, after school programs, and help the staff and help them to help the kids for sure.
Wonderful. Your work is so needed, Kris. Thank you so much for your kindness, for your wisdom, for all the knowledge shared. I appreciate you. I have personally worked with Kris in one-on-one sessions, so I know she's a wonderful practitioner, very wise person, overall a loving human being. And I welcome everyone here to connect with her through her website and give yourself the gift of having a one-on-one session with her. She has so many different techniques and tools that she uses in her practice, so you can figure out which one works for you. I have personally done emotional freedom techniques. I'm personally familiar with it, and I just have had great experiences with Kris. Now, that's not to say, like she already shared with us, the process sometimes can be painful, right? We don't want to necessarily bypass emotions that are difficult, but that's why she's there to hold that space. And it's just so you feel supported. You feel like you're being held, no matter what it is that you're going through. Personally, the exercises we just did, my body, I could feel it in my body. When I'm stressed and I have a lot of things going on, I feel the stress in my stomach, and I felt all that energy just like settle and relax. So thank you. I definitely feel the difference. I don't know if anyone else wants to share.
Yes, Kris, I would say I felt the same way. My body does feel relaxed. I had so much going on at the same time, and this morning was a really crazy morning for me. So I recognize it's like, oh my God, this is perfect. So thank you. Just even the breathing exercises.
Yeah, you're so.
And I bought your book already, so I'm looking forward to reading it.
Thank you so much. And yeah, just as a reminder to everybody, couple of minutes. We
Mhm.
just did stuff for a couple of minutes using our own bodies and hands that we take with us everywhere we go. You wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, that calming hug can bring you
Mhm.
back to sleep. And you know, you can't reach out to your therapist. It's 4 a.m., but you got this. Okay. So we bring our bodies with us wherever we go, and they come with great wisdom for healing for us.
Mhm.
And I got the book as well through Audible though.
Through the audio.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do narrate it. This is one of
It's
my
very
favorite parts.
soothing to hear to Kris at
Oh,
nighttime.
wait a minute, it's free. Okay, wait a minute. Yes, I got it too because it's free on Amazon.
Awesome. So when you get the book, you get the Audible free. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It is awesome. So you can hear me leading you through all of this stuff.
Any other questions? Would someone else like to speak? If so, please just unmute yourself. Otherwise, share on the chat if you have any questions. I think pretty much Kris covered what was shared with us beforehand. Okay, if we have no more questions, I would love to thank everyone that showed up tonight. Thank you so much. We continue to bring guest speakers once a month for our Uplift Project series. Again, with the goal of building a stronger community where we support each other, where we expose each other to different guest speakers who are doing amazing work in the world. And we really hope that it's useful for you in your personal life and in your professional life. Someone said on the chat, thank you. This was very much needed for me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for spending this hour with us.
So again, I'm gonna stop the recording here for those that will be able to watch this on YouTube or whatever other platforms. Enjoy the recording, and we do look forward to more Uplift presentations. So thanks again, everyone.